Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technologies again with another video. It's going to be a continuation of a video that I did before about Cisco Identity Services with Order. So if you're a hospital or something like that, and you already have Order, or if you're just a company that already has Order, this is a way to actually increase your security or visibility by combining it or integrating Order with Cisco ICE. So how does this actually work? We're just going to do theory here, but we're going to do it on a whiteboard. And then if you're interested in something like this in your environment, there's going to be descriptions in the video below, and you can contact me. We can talk about actually doing this integration. So let's start with the theory here. So, I like doing the whiteboard. So we're just going to do Cisco ICE with Order. All right. So what is the purpose of this? So Cisco ICE is a great product. It's a great appliance for network access control. And you can do profiling with it. Now, ICE can do a lot, but it doesn't mean you need to do everything in ICE. That's usually what we say here, right? Now, Order is similar. Now, I'm not going to say it is, but it's similar to like StealthWatch, but does a lot more. StealthWatch is a great product as well. I have videos on StealthWatch on the channel. So if you want to look at that, you can kind of see some of the comparisons there or see what StealthWatch can do. But Order is a profiler that profiles off of net flow information. So how this would work from a theory perspective is you have this thing called a SCE sensor, right? Now this would be in StealthWatch world, this would be a flow collector or telemetry broker or whatever you want to call it, right? And then you have a thing in Order called SCE. And if we're going to compare that to StealthWatch, you have the SCM, which is the management console there, or Secure Network Analytics has the console. Now, these these two devices, they both ingest NetFlow information. So what would happen is you have a core switch over here. Let's say this is a core switch, SVIs, all that good stuff. And then you have, we'll just say users and devices, users and devices, users and devices. So they're going to go connect in, and then all that information and NetFlow information. And we're just going to talk about Order, but I'm going to, kind of put some StealthWatch stuff in there as well. So you can see, if you are familiar with StealthWatch, you can kind of see where the two meet. But again, Order is its own product. It does stuff a little bit better than maybe StealthWatch, and StealthWatch does stuff better than Order. So, but they're two different things. They handle two different things here. So that NetFlow data will go to the SCE, or StealthWatch, we're going to talk about the flow collector. Now, that information, when it's ingested in Order, is going to give you a plethora of information. Like, they are one of the top like profilers out there. They have a lot more information that you would get than if you use like native ICE. Like, if you use native ICE, you can get a lot of stuff from the profiler, especially if you're doing things like device sensors. If you want me to create a video about device sensors, why you would use those, what those are for, I can do a video on that. But it gives you a lot more information. And then on the back end, you would have this integrated with ICE on the back end. Now that communication is going to be, and we'll do it also with the SCM, just so we have some synergy here. This is going to be PX grid, right? This is going to be PX grid integration. Now, when you have that PX grid integration, you will have contextual information shared between ICE and the SCE or SCM if you're using StealthWatch, but we're mainly talking about Order here. And you'll have that contextual information. So this, what is contextual information? All right, well, it is the who, what, when, where, and how something got on the network. Now, SCE and Order is only going to give you profile information. Now you can, when you combine it with ICE, now you're enforced network access control using attributes that Order has seen from that NetFlow information. So what's going to happen here is you'll get certain attributes, device type, category, stuff like that that you can create in order. And let's say these were EKG machines, these were, pumps, these were cameras, these were something. That information is going to get shared over to ICE. And now in ICE, you can create your profiles based on, now this is important, custom attributes that you get from SCE. Right now, you're not, this is where, something like SelfWatch doesn't come in because they're completely different products. This does not send, our SelfWatch or Secure Network Analytics does not send custom attributes for you to create profiles from. This is why if you're an order customer and you want to get help enforcing the profiles or the information that you see in order, you want to use those attributes to kind of enforce policy in terms of network access. This is where the integration with ICE does come in. So you take those custom attributes and you create a endpoint profile. So endpoint profile. All right. And then you create a policy set. All right. Now, since this is going to be profiling, this is mainly going to be for devices that do not do 802.1x or do not do certificate or username and password style authentication. And for me, I'm always going to say certificate authentication. So these are going to be for devices that do not do certificate based authentication. And they're going to do MAB, which is, just by authentication bypass, right? So because we're technically bypassing authentication, you need this profile so you can create a policy set. And then the auth-z policy, which is your authorization profile, by the way, auth-c is authentication, auth-z is authorization, will be based on the profile you created from these custom attributes. So let's say, order sends over a bunch of attributes for an EKG machine. And then you use those attributes to create this endpoint profile called EKGs. All right. Now, normally you're probably going to say these are common like access. EKGs are all the same. Doesn't matter what the manufacturer is. So you would create a logical profile based on, say, unless you have the EKGs all coming from the same manufacturer, but let's just say you have 5 EKGs from different manufacturers. You would create a logical profile and then put those individual endpoint profiles into the logical profile. The way I like teaching this is the endpoint profile is the marble, the logical profile is the jar. You're going to create a policy based on the jar and not the marble, because marbles can change, right? And you don't have to keep going back into your profile or into your policy set and keep adding new profiles to it. You just create the logical profile, which is the jar, meaning you put the marble in the jar. And if anything that matches the marbles that are in the jar, let it through as long as it has the same kind of access. That's the key. It has to have the same kind of access. Can't really use logical profiles and giving 2 different type of access because it doesn't make any sense to do that. But let's say logical profile would be EKGs, whatever the manufacturer, whatever the profiles, doesn't matter. And then you're going to enforce your access, say, okay, EKG machines, or you can do, VLAN assignments if you want to. You can do TrustSec if you want to. You can just attach a SGT to it and then have a TrustSec policy. If you want to see what that looks like, I do have a video on rapid threat containment that does have Cisco TrustSec in it. That's more of an advanced topic. Not everybody should be jumping to TrustSec immediately because it forces you to think about your network in a certain way that most people that I've seen have not really thought about it that way and are not really ready to go in that direction. So TrustSec is great, but it's something that you need to slowly wean yourself into because it's going to change the way you think about your network. And from a policy perspective, you just can't go haywire with, applying tags or creating tags because the matrix will just get ridiculously big and it's hard to manage. But I have a TrustSec video on that. If you want to see that, look in the channel. There's a TrustSec video there. So you can do, DACLs, which is dynamic ACLs, if you want to push down. Now, the crazy thing about order is it can help you actually create SGACLs and DACLs for enforcement in your authorization policy. So you don't need to manually create these. And how can it do that? It's because it can see how the device communicates. So it sees how the device communicates on the network. All right. So the device communicate on network. And because it can see how the device communicates at the port level, because the net flow data that it gets or it ingests, and it actually say, okay, I can recommend a DACL or a TrustSec policy based on what we see. We'll just say, okay, we'll create this SGACL or we'll create this DACL, and then it'll push it in ICE. So you'll go to ICE, and when you see some of your results, right? When you look at your results and you go to your DACLs, you will see the DACL that got pushed from order to ICE. Now, all because it's pushed to ICE doesn't mean anything until you actually use it in your off-Z policy. Same thing with SGACLs. It can create the SGACL, but until you apply it to the TrustSec matrix, depending on if you have multiple matrices, I did something about that as well. But until you actually apply it to the TrustSec matrix, the SGACL is just there. It's not actually doing anything. So this is how Order can help you kind of get more information about the things that's on your network, help you with your profiling. Again, you can use device sensors for this. You can do all that kind of stuff. But the fact that you got the net flow information, and you can also create your DACLs and SGACLs based on how Order sees things are communicating. Order is probably the better way to do it if you're like a hospital or you're just somebody that's an Order customer and you're like, okay, I need to kind of use this information to kind of enforce some kind of network access. Well, now this is where the integration with ICE comes into play. And if you don't know, I am a heavy component of Cisco Identity Services Engine. That's basically what I've been classically trained on. And I've looked at a bunch of other NAC solutions. Cisco got them beat a mile away. They got him beat. And I've seen Fortinet, I've seen Forescout, I've seen ClearPass, all kind of stuff. Cisco ICE guys has it beat. Um, but yeah, that's Cisco ICE and Order integration in a nutshell from a theory standpoint. I know the other video I was just saying, hey, that's one of the match made in heaven when it comes to profiling and stuff like that. They do have other competitors, but I like the Order solution as well. If you're looking for something like this again, description is going to be below. Do a discovery call. We can talk about potentially getting this environment into you, because if you don't have ICE, you can't really do this. So if you're an Order customer and you're looking to get ICE, we can start there because we have to get you there first before we can do this integration. And if you're an ICE customer and you don't have Order and you're like a hospital or something like that, and it's so hard to create profiles, we can also talk about that as well. So this is Don from Padlock Technologies. I hope this video was informative. Thank you and have a nice day.